What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show, a Halloween edition without any costumes, just two dudes talking ball. So hope you appreciate the ball talking and not the costumes. But with me to talk through the injury report, as always, Mike Gallagher. Mike, how are you doing on this Thursday?
Doing good. We do have the orange background, so we've got that going for us for Halloween. But yeah, I like half joked to you, should I wear a green shirt, be like just a head for Halloween? But yeah, no holiday spirit for me, man. Still have it. Just want to talk ball, so let's do it.
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's start with Milwaukee and Memphis on this 4-game slate. On the Milwaukee side, Giannis Antetokounmpo once again listed probable with the right patella tendonitis. AJ Johnson and Chris Livingston and Stanley Amude listed out for G League, and then Chris Middleton still out with that bilateral ankle surgery recovery. What are your notes here on Giannis and the probable tag? And if you want to really get into it, since it's only a 4-game slate, the rumors swirling around Giannis and if the Bucks fade away this year that he might be available, and he's eyeing Miami or Brooklyn as a potential destination. I saw those flying around social media earlier today.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I got too much work to do. Let's talk about what happened in this game. The thing I want to talk about is Giannis playing 39 minutes. We just got the Grizzlies injury report. I want to see if our bet's good or not. Okay, so 39 minutes you see on that, 37 from Gary Trent, 36 on Damian Lillard. That was because Doc Rivers said after the game that they had a couple of days off, Monday to Thursday, so they upped those minutes. And you see Bobby Portis' minutes were light. That was because he, quote, got sped up against Boston, so they cut him down. Bane. Okay, so Bane's smart enough. They're actually not resting the Grizzlies, anyways. Sorry, I got off track. I was really waiting for that news. So yeah,
we will get to it momentarily.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, we saw Brook play a bunch. Sutter probably come back down. Bobby was pretty consistently mid-20s, so we're mostly throwing this game out. It is against Boston. That's been something we've talked a lot about. We saw something that we kind of took advantage of yesterday with the Pacers, that teams just don't really like to play too big against them. So I think that was mostly the reason why. Other than that, not too much to say. Giannis is going to get this P tag apparently every game now.
Yep. All right, Memphis side, we can get to that injury report. They have listed out Desmond Bane, Gigi Jackson, Luke Kennard, Marcus Smart, Cam Spencer, and Vince Williams Jr. Questionable tag on John Conchar, who returned yesterday. Notably absent from the injury report, John Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. This is the second night of a back-to-back from Memphis. What are your expectations for what we see from the Grizzlies tonight?
Yeah, the Conchar Q, kind of expected. We saw that Q tag last game, but yeah, Desmond Bane, oblique injury, not good. That's usually a multiple week one. We don't know the severity yet. Marcus Smart also rolled his ankle, was in street clothes after the game. Looks like he's going to probably miss some time. And on top of this one, this is not back-to-back maintenance. Those guys got hurt yesterday. But yeah, as you mentioned, the headline here, I was expecting John Morant to be at least Q tag, but there was a quote from him saying he's kind of really frustrated by the fact that his minutes have been so light, and just losing a couple games here. So yeah, that means he's going to be in there. We'll see if his minutes come up. I'm pretty sure he's not playing more than 30. Again, they've been pretty strict on that minutes limit there. And then we'll see Jaren Jackson, who played his season high 28. We'll see if that kind of stays in that range. But pretty encouraging to see those guys out there. And I'm curious to see if that John Morant thing pushed it overall. So yeah, and then Zach Edey not tagged either. He was, questionable the last game, went out there, had one of his best games. I think he scored 13 in the first half and then didn't score in the second half overall. As the Nets just on a back-to-back just ran all over them again. But yeah, so no Bane, no Smart. We are hedging-ish because we saw Scottie Pippen subbed in for Bane when Bane went down, and then a bad pass and a foul got Scottie Pippen pulled out. So in their short ball handling. So I'm thinking they might start Wells, and then Conchar, we saw him start for the second half for Smart. So that's probably assuming Conchar's in, would be in there. If Conchar can't play, they'd probably be starting Jake LaRavia there. All those guys I just mentioned should play a bunch. It was about 15 minutes in the second half for Wells and LaRavia. So yeah, those guys should be in there a pretty good bit. Yeah, and that's mostly it. Yeah, anything you want to add?
We've seen, I think it was 2 games ago, they started Aldama in like a really big lineup. We know that teams against Milwaukee at times choose to go sort of size just to have more bulk kind of rim protection in general. that's another out that I could potentially see have Aldama like sacrifice to the Giannis primary guard responsibility, and then have Edie and Jaren as hoping to provide rim protection there behind.
Yeah.
So that's another wrinkle that I'll just throw in there is that Santo Aldama, who's been one of the few Grizzlies players that's been playing pretty consistently well, didn't have a good game this last game to start the season. It wouldn't surprise me if they start like really mega big here with Aldama. Okay.
That they were terrible in that game too, by the way.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, they were terrible in this game as well. On to Houston and Dallas. On the Houston side of things, Steven Adams remains questionable with the right knee injury recovery, left calf strain. Otherwise, it's G Leaguers out. What are your notes for the Rockets?
Yeah, it pains us to say that Jalen Green's been playing pretty well. Udoka really, really talked him up after the game, so his minutes are pretty strong. Taking away a little bit of handling from Fred VanVleet has been a bit of a small story overall, but obviously Fred VanVleet's still playing just so many minutes that he's still going to have some value. But yeah, also Dylan Brooks playing a ton. That's been another story there. But yeah, not much else to add here. They should be pretty much good to go. And then actually the big story here was Reed Shepherd going bye-bye, basically out of the rotation with 3 minutes. Man, those rookie of the year shares that people were betting, not looking good. I was looking at this market yesterday. I'd rather waste time on this than Giannis stuff. Like the top of the rookie of the year market, man, like it's so weak. So there's going to be I think there's a good value there. It's tough to like fire at it, but if you take the time, I think you could find some value in that market.
The Adams Q tag, he played last game. I believe that was his debut. 14 minutes was effective in the plus minus category. If he's unable to go, we know that Jock Landale has filled that role in the past. Although against Dallas, you can potentially run kind of smaller center lineups that have some verticality to them. What are your thoughts on Adams' availability? And because that would be another way to get Reed Shepherd minutes if they wanted to, right? Was like just kind of play Tari or Jabari as a smaller ball five. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, it makes sense. I think he's going to play. He's had this tag every game. You mentioned he did make the time out there last game. Thought he gave him pretty good minutes there in the second unit. So expecting him to play. But and this is not a back-to-back. Again, this is the same tag he's had all year. So should be good. But yeah, if he isn't, then I think they would be more willing to go small because Tari's minutes managed in the preseason, wasn't sitting out, did play a back-to-back. His minutes are starting to creep up after season-ending surgery last year. So that does make some sense.
Okay. Dallas side of things, Dante Exum, Maxi Kleber, Gortman, and Kessler Edwards all listed out here. Brandon Williams, a G Leaguer, listed available, which is odd. But no real, rotation notes other than Dante Exum and Maxi Kleber out. So what are your notes here on Dallas?
Yeah, Luka Doncic, no tag here. We saw him get kind of kneed in the back of his knee and then, limped off. After the game, Jason Kidd said no concern, no tag. So should be good, expecting pretty good minutes there overall. And a toughish matchup, a lot of good wing defenders, on-ball defenders on this team. So been meh. Luka's been shooting a ton, second in possessions used per game behind Tyrese Maxey, but hasn't quite popped off the way we're accustomed to. That'll probably come perhaps tonight overall. And then, yeah, Kyrie's been great, magnificent in the last game. PJ, pretty good defense against Ant, locked and loaded. And then Derek Lively just – like the stats don't pop, but man, he just makes such an impact on this team. He's having a really, really strong start. So Dallas, one of the best teams in the West so far with their 3-1 record and, not the easiest schedule.
San Antonio and Utah. San Antonio on the second night of a back-to-back here. They have not submitted yet. Is there anything that you're concerned about finding on this injury report? There's plenty. I mean, Chris Paul, Victor Wembanyama. Like, what are your thoughts on what we might see pop up here for San Antonio?
Yeah, it did help out that OKC blew the doors off them. So that had Wembanyama cut down to 27 minutes, Chris Paul down to 26. This is their first back-to-back, so we don't have any tendencies here. But you'd think that there's at least a chance that Chris Paul and his age and how they're not playing him a lot, they could just sit him out here. But should note, without Trey Jones, tougher sell to do that. So we'll see Trey Jones out for weeks here, so he won't be in there. So yeah, expecting the guys in because they got blown out last night. Obviously, Pop, when the Spurs lose, Popovich's pressers are like under 90 seconds. He spent 85% of that presser just talking about how good OKC is, as a random note there. But yeah, expecting the same rotation, and we should get that news in probably 20 minutes if you did want to kind of, possibly bet some stales. We'll see, but expecting them in for now.
Yeah, tricky spot to try to do so. On the Utah side of things, Lauri Markkanen with a questionable tag, low back spasms there. They've listed the G Leaguers out, Micah Potter, Jason Preston, Oscar Sheepway, and then also Isaiah Collier, and of course Taylor Hendricks, who's lost for the season. What's your read on Lauri Markkanen's availability today?
Yeah, not good. Back injury. We saw him aggravated, grabbed his back, didn't start the second half. Get to that in a second. And Utah last team with a win. We talked a lot about this in the offseason, that they might be willing to kind of tank it here to accumulate more picks for the Jazz. And you're playing the Spurs. Spurs aren't playing well. Like, maybe you just sit Lauri out, even if he's like 85, 90%. So don't have much detail there, but he is hurt. This is a legit injury. We saw it in the last game. So this isn't like a March injury kind of thing. If he doesn't play, that means Kyle Filipowski, who entered the rotation last game on the heels of the Taylor Hendricks season-ending leg injury, so he would be starting, I would think. Was subbing in behind Lauri. Actually had a few minutes of overlap with Lauri Markkanen in the first half before they went away. So Filipowski, I thought, played pretty well in this game. Kind of a deep league pickup as a heads up, and pretty good permanent player at Duke. So he would be starting. And then the other change here was the flip of the shooting guard. They started Jordan Clarkson in place of Colin Sexton. I mean, the timing makes sense. Like, you're putting in, and you could pile on after this, you're putting in Cody Williams, who has very little offensive game, and Jordan Clarkson is just a better offense onto himself than Colin Sexton is, especially when you're putting Cody on the ball, which is what we said. If you don't want to have Colin Sexton's defense on the ball, then you got to start Cody. So I feel pretty good Cody's going to have the starting job locked down. Again, not a good fantasy per minute producer. Again, you could bury me more if you want. He scored. You said 6 points. He got 9. So shout out to Cody.
Yeah. He shot 50% from 3 to get there.
Cookman. Yeah, he's those Williams boys are good. And then lastly, we did get if Lauri's out, I think it was 5 minutes of overlap of John Collins and Walker Kessler in the second half. So you would see a little bit of that overlap there. So yeah, just a couple things to note. But yeah, this is not good for Colin Sexton. If they're not going to overlap him and Jordan Clarkson, like, that is dire straits. Because if they're not going to overlap him, like, what, he tops out at 24 because Clarkson's going to play a lot. So yeah, rough run out for Colin Sexton despite an injury to the starting lineup.
Yeah, for now. I mean, the other thing about this is, like, some of these changes could just be showcase situations. Like, I would be shocked if Jordan Clarkson's on the Utah Jazz roster at the end of the season. Yeah. Similarly, I think, like, Filipowski got the start last time, should definitely assume that, but, like, wouldn't surprise me if you saw John Collins flip to being a power forward for a couple of games if Lauri missed games, just to showcase, right? Like, just like to get some eyes on him a little bit more. Probably is fine to keep having him, like, beat up on second units, but that's another note. The note, though, is that both of these situations, they need overlap to be able to have DFS value on a given night, because it's just too tough to get there in like 24 minutes for these guys. So that's the real note for now, but it's Utah. The rotation could tighten. It usually doesn't with Will Hardy. It's usually always 10, find a way to get to 10. So we'll probably still be in that situation once again tonight.
Yeah. If I got to add a random note, like, man, we're getting a lot of rookies starting already. Like, Richeche already got a start. We saw that Kaishan George. We saw 3 rookies starting for the Wizards.
From a pretty weak rookie class. So it's not a situation where you want these rookies starting this early. And it's kind of shown. I think Bob Carrington yesterday might have been the first rookie to get to double-digit points this year in a game. Or I guess Filipowski did before that. But as of like – oh, okay. Dunn did one game. Maybe it's 15 points. Maybe nobody's gotten to 15 points in a game. I saw Tom Haberstroh had a stat on this. I thought I saw.
I could be wrong.
Up across social media.
For flag, hashtag capture the flag, man. It's going to be a long season of bad players getting minutes.
Yeah, and it's not just. I mean, Cooper Flagg's an exceptional prospect, and he is absolutely the prize of this next class. But it's not just him. There's a lot of good prospects in this next class coming up. Phoenix and the Clippers last game on the slate. Phoenix side, Bradley Beal questionable, right elbow sprain once again. Still without Josh Okogie, Ty Washington, and Jalen Bridges, the G Leaguers, also out. What are your expectations for Bradley Beal tonight?
Should be good. There was a Mike Budenholzer practice note that I was checking out, and he talked about Bradley Beal. Didn't have any note about the injury. We saw this same tag last time, so played pretty okay. 35 minutes. Defense was pretty good in this game too, so would be pretty surprised if he doesn't play. So expecting him in there. The big question to me is how many minutes does Jusuf Nurkic play? Just completely got ran off the court by Anthony Davis in 2 of their 4 games. Had a 30-minute game when they missed Beal, when they missed Grayson Allen, who I'll talk about in a second. I don't know. He's down bad, man. He looks absolutely horrible in this offensive system. If I have Nurk stuff and I have him season long, I would trade him for like 50 cents on the dollar. And you shouldn't have drafted him. Anyways, the reason why is because Royce O'Neal's playing really well. Ryan Dunn's been playing really well. Mason Plumlee's been playing really well. Mike Budenholzer went out of his way a little bit to talk about Mason Plumlee's impact on the offense. A guy that had 0 shots, 0 turnovers, impacting the offense, he's a good offensive player, pretty good on the short roll. Obviously, the offensive rebounding I think is pretty valuable. Nurk has that too. But hey, you don't want a high usage player when you're out there with Kevin Durant, Booker, and Beal. So Plumlee kind of coming for his minutes. They can play small. We saw the Blazers last night played small in pretty key minutes against Zubats and the Harden attack. So I think that if you're watching that, it was great. Like the Blazers played really well down the stretch last night. So I would be on Nurk alert is something I used to say all the time in Roto World, but for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, and Plumlee is one of these guys that. So sometimes you can be super active offensively and like do nothing. Like Alex Sarr is super active and like doing nothing. Like he's just running around. There's no. And it's just he's young. He's got to learn, right? But like he's just moving, but there's no like intention with his activity. Plumlee's pretty active and is a veteran, so like he is active in the right ways. Meaning like he's pretty good at sealing like on screens. He's pretty good at boxing out and protecting the boards. Like he does a lot of little things, even if he doesn't have to take shots. You mentioned the short roll passing, so you could see how a coach would like him, which is one of the reasons we were projecting this split much closer coming into the season. The thing that we did not foresee was the growth of Ryan Dunn in a way that was really significant, which is taking total center minutes away from this team, because we saw Phoenix struggle to play small last year. It's still struggling this year. It hasn't been as clean, but there's more outs to doing it this year. All right, Clippers side, they're on the second night of back-to-back. They have not filed either. Will note that their minutes yesterday, much to our chagrin, we had a James Harden over, looked very back-to-back managed on the front end. I mean, James Harden only played like 14 first half minutes. He lost a minute and a half due to foul trouble at the end of the first half when he had picked up his third foul. But I mean, he was basically trending for 30 to 32 minutes. He finishes at 30, 31 and a half, 32, something like that. So usually we're projecting Harden 36 plus. Zubats lost some minutes at the end of the game due to the going small stuff, but he was trending instead of the 36, 37 that we had seen before for more like 33. So it looked like they were trying to take the foot off the gas a little bit here. Any notes or expectations for what we might see on the back-to-back here?
Yeah, they've had a back-to-back already, weren't managed. To that point, I mean, they didn't screw around last time in the back-to-back when they were Denver and San Francisco. So, yeah, it was surprising, obviously sad, to miss the over there. We were really hesitant because we don't want to bet another over. But, alas, we did lose that one. First tough game from Zoo. Credit to DeAndre Ayton. Fronted him in the post. I thought he played pretty well. Pretty much threw that out the window. Zeus just has a massive role. Expecting him to bounce back quite a bit overall. And then, Terrence Mann's minutes have been cut, partly because Chris Dunn's been playing well. Amir Coffey played pretty well last night. So, yeah, the wings are a little bit more vulnerable. Derek Jones Jr.'s minutes have held up pretty well here. And you would think in the matchup, really he's their best kind of long, tall defender. The minutes could be pretty secure here. So, yeah, again, expecting no limitations, should be full go injury report wise.
Yeah, and I want to note the note on Ayton is a good one. He played very active defensively. Zubats, I think, is going to be very good this season, but I think there are specific types of matchups that are going to be challenging for him. And it's ones with athleticism, length, and size. That combination, right? There's not a lot of guys in this league, but like he did really well against Nurkic. That size. He did really well against Jokic. That size. He did really well against Golden State. There's not the size there. Then he struggles against Portland, which Ayton has size, athleticism, right? Phoenix tonight, I think he'll do fine. Next 2 games after that, though, Oklahoma City, Chet, size and athleticism, and then Wemby, size and athleticism in length. And just because so much of the stuff for Zoo is like, can he catch the ball right at the rim and go up? Those guys who can prevent him from catching the ball in rhythm are going to be the ones that are tougher for him to have like the big games against. So I would just say that in general, Ayton, Holmgren, Wembanyama, those guys with length that can prevent entry passes are going to be a little bit more obstacles for Zubats in my read of the situation so far. I don't expect that to be an issue tonight.
Yeah, last play of the game, they tried to throw it in there, and Ayton jumped in there and knocked it away. So
yeah, because Zubats is huge. Zubats is huge, and he's got pretty good touch. But if you can get around him because you have length and you have athleticism, you can deny entries in a way that are much, much tougher. And the fronting is what you were talking about there, right? They were fronting him a lot. That's a lot tougher for him to deal with. So I think you're going to see some of that in the next two matchups is what I was going to say. So the Oklahoma City and the San Antonio ones, I'm a little bit on alert for Zoo having a little bit more difficulties there.
Yeah. And just shout out Bill. And he just also random note too. Ayton was like spacing the floor a lot. And that was a big reason why Anthony Simons was able to get in the lane. So
yeah,
a pretty big shot. I mean, Chauncey Billups, Chauncey Billups much maligned, perhaps maybe the first coach to get fired. I thought he coached a really good game last night, which, out coaching Ty Lue. And also, by the way, random note, Billups said that he kind of keeps score against Tyronn Lue. I don't know if you want to do that if you're Chauncey Billups, but shout out to Billups, man. Good game from him last night.
That's funny. All right, that'll do it for this edition of Establish Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. As always, if you're interested in checking out any of our premium content, you can go to establishrun.com/subscribe-NBA for more details on our premium product offerings on the DFS side or on the prop side. If you are only interested in the free content, that's cool too. Make sure to subscribe to this channel as that helps us continue to feed you with great free content on this channel. The Injury Shows podcast, we just recorded an episode. It should be up later this afternoon from producer Ryan. And the best way to support this channel by far is to feed that algorithm by smashing that like button. You smash the like button, it feeds the algorithm, allows us to feed our families, and helps us feed you the NBA injury information analysis you need each and every day to set your DFS lineups and your season-long lineups and make your spread bets and your prop bets. So smash that like button, feed that algorithm. Nom, 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 nom. Happy Halloween. We'll see you next time.